There seemed to be confusion in the NDC regarding who has the power to suspend party members who break party rules. This follows the suspension of duly elected parliamentary candidates of the NDC in the Ningo Prampram constituency, Sam George, and Member of Parliament for the Ladadekotopon constituency, Ni Amasatna Mwale, by the Greater Accra NDC office. But Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, George Lawson, says the Greater Accra office do not have the powers for such suspensions. So who has and who does not have the powers to suspend members of the party who misbehave? Or is it the case of some members having more power than the others, that they are untouchable even if they break party rules? Who should we listen to, the Deputy General Secretary or the regional executives of the NDC? We'll find answers shortly on today's big story with me, Aisha Bryan. The national executives of the NDC say the suspension of these two candidates will remain in place until hearings by the Regional Disciplinary Committee into their conduct during the party's parliamentary primaries on November 21, 2015 are concluded. Sam George is not alone. The only victim, the party also suspended Member of Parliament for the Ladadekotopon constituency, Niamasa Namwale, who was also re-elected as the party's parliamentary candidate for the 2016 elections. He is accused of conduct that brought the party into disrepute, the same accusation leveled against Sam George. But we should not be so surprised. After all, Adekoka, the Greater Accra Regional Chairman, did warn that there will be repercussions for Sam George's statements and other people during the elections who misbehave during the primaries. Let's listen to Adekoka speaking on the 22nd November when Ningo Prampram held its primaries.
If anybody is putting this election into disrepute, we must deal with him. So this country we must learn to discipline ourselves. Otherwise, one day this country will go to the dogs. It's very, very important that we show discipline in whatever we do. And that is what we are hoping that at the end of the day, we give everyone a level playing field. Whoever emerges, we are prepared to work with the person. But we shouldn't use force. People should not go out of their way to use force and use land guards. We've heard that there are land guards going round, and I think it's not the best. This should not happen in the NDC. People should be allowed to exercise their franchise in a very peaceful manner.
But it looks like his powers are being challenged. Jerry Johnson, who is the Greater Accra NDC Deputy Communications Director, says the suspension remains until hearings by the Regional Disciplinary Committee into their conduct during the party's parliamentary primary on November 21 and 22 are concluded. And also, George Lawson says the Greater Accra office has no powers to suspend any candidate. As far as he's concerned, the issue is with the disciplinary committee. So they should have waited for the disciplinary committee to come out with its conclusion before taking this decision. And even if they wanted to take this decision, they should have had the powers, or they should have had the approval of the whole national executives and not just the regional executives. Let's listen to George Lawson, who spoke earlier to Francis Urban.
I also want to put story.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson, for your time. An interesting analogy you used there about the Baba and laying his head down in terms of handling this matter in the party. But thanks for your time. We are also joined on the line by the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, George Lawson. Thank you so much for your time. This is happening at the regional level, but are we to see more happen in terms of tough disciplinary actions for election-related comments that were done during the primaries?
Good evening, and thank you very much. Yes, but it should be legitimate. I don't see what the regional executives have done is legitimate. If the Supreme Court is adjudicating a case, no other lower court can adjudicate. looking at what happened during and before, during, and after the parliamentary and presidential primaries, we called our conflict resolution committee, chaired by Alhaji Hudu Yaya. We have eminent people of this party. They have been called to, petitions have come to us. Those were there, all the petitions have, and they are sitting on the petition. So I thought that it would have been prudent and wise for them, before taking the action, consulting the national to find out what's the way forward. What have they done? The national will tell you, yes, the conflict resolution committee is in place and is looking into all this petition. So for you to just go like that, for instance, there are areas that there's some areas that there's tension. We have decided to ease the tension. As when they are announcing, when this thing was put on social media with all this announcement, people were agitated. People were trying to march. I had to come. I told them no, they should just come. For instance, again, the regional executives do not have the power to suspend or any candidate. They don't have that power. It's only the National Executive Committee. They have the power to investigate or discipline any ordinary member, but not a parliament. It is not a parliamentary candidate for the regional executive. It's a parliamentary candidate for
the party.
National Democrat.
Okay, Mr. Lawson, not to cut you. So let's clear this up. Am I to understand then that this decision that's been taken by the regional level, the national executives are not aware of this?
Yes, and they are still, the people that they are still the parliamentary candidate elect for the two constituencies. Now I must make it clear, because they don't have them, because the election of the parliamentary was not conducted by the region. It was sanctioned by the National Executive Committee. From what I heard from my brother, meaning for you to be able to stop that, you need a petition. Somebody would have written and from what I deduced from what he said, meaning there hasn't been no any petition. Somebody should write to you based on that. Then you can suspend the person, and within a time frame, you set up a disciplinary committee to go to. You can set up a disciplinary committee to discipline, but not as to suspend somebody as a parliamentary candidate. You can. They don't have those powers. I do know. Even the functional executive, we do. It is the National Executive Committee that has that power. They don't have that power. They can sanction, discipline any member. And again, in disciplining members, there are levels. He is a constituency member. If the person were to be a regional executive member, then you start from that level. But this is a constituency person, so it should start from the constituency. If the constituency are unable, it comes to region, then if region, then it comes to national.
Okay.
If you look at, there's a case in Ashanti, the deputy regional, one of the deputy regional women who is a candidate for a JUSU. Yes, because she's a regional executive. That is the regional executive, yes, decided and consulted national to suspend national about it. And this thing has been referred to the National Disciplinary Committee. She's a regional, but if the person is an ordinary constituency member, you don't start from that level. You start from the constituency. So it's the constituency that would have to take those measures that they are taking now. Not the regional system. But again, there are tensions all over. These elections, as you are characterized by so many things. Our destiny is to ease the tension in those areas. And you don't ease the tension by just coming out blankets and suspending people without even people petitioning.
Okay.
The person is not of your rank. If the person was to be a regional executive, fine. But the person is not a regional executive.
So, Mr. Lawson, briefly.
It's a constituency member.
I get it. And the process and how it should not be done.
Would have to write at the constituency, and the constituency would have to set up a constituency disciplinary committee. And they will go into the matter and then come out with recommendations.
So, Mr. Lawson, briefly, just to clear this up for me, why do you think regional executives, and I'm sure they do understand how things work in the party, got such a fundamental and serious issue so wrong?
I think you have to ask them. This is a full part. Laws are laws, rules are rules. And if somebody, an ordinary member, so then you'll just be suspending ordinary members. Then why is the constituency? We have the constituency disciplinary committee. That is where you start from. This is not an regional executive. If I, as a national executive, misconduct myself, it is not the region that will come in this thing. It is not. It is a national executive, a national that will deal with me.
Okay, so Mr. Lawson, you are Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. This matter has come up. You clearly have indicated that this cannot hold because it flies in the face of the party's laws and cannot stand. So what is the national executive doing about this?
Yeah. From the cases, the people that is suspended, petitions have been received from people with regards to these issues, and the conflict resolution committee is handling it. Monday, they brought a lot of things from a lot of SBs and all those from those constituencies there. And it is the committee chaired by Alhaji Hudu Yaya, our former general secretary. He is chairing that committee, and that's the highest as far as the party is concerned. So they should have waited or consulted national before taking that faux pas or making that faux pas. And you cannot have a Supreme Court adjudicating a case and then a Court of Appeal also sitting on the same thing. It is absurd.
So, would anyone who's sitting back, an independent mind, watching what's happening unfold, be right to say that this could be more than just executives passing something? Right? There could be more, maybe, could be witch hunting.
They must go back to the drawing table and do the right thing. For instance, things happen. And again, they talked of from the Ningo from constituency. You find out that all the things that characterize that election took place in the Ningo area. Again, when it comes to turnout, the highest turnout also in the Ningo, you have to investigate all the things before taking any decision.
Okay.
The things they should have done. Why is it that this particular area, traditional area or electoral area, is where all these things happen? Not the other things. Why? And again, looking again, there was a high turnout in this area. Why? You find out all these things. These are evaluations. You need to evaluate, not to just hurriedly or in a rapid manner come out with this decision.
Okay.
Let's do some analysis now, and Malik Dabo, editor of My Joy Online, joins me in the studio with what he's gathered so far. We're told there are statements, one to Sam George and one to who, Nyamasana Mwale, and then one from Kokwa Nyido, who's deputy General Secretary. So, what are these statements saying?
Well, the first one was the one written by the regional secretary of the party. That's for Greater Accra. He wrote that letter. It was written on the 1st December. I think that was on Tuesday, and submitted to Sam George, telling him that the party had been directed by the Regional Executive Committee of the NDC to suspend him because he had engaged in conduct that was in violation of Article 10 and 10 of the NDC's constitution. And he said that conduct primarily was conduct that brought the NDC into disrepute. And they cited examples of, in later interviews, they cited examples of comments that he had made, saying that the regional executive were in cahoots with E.T. Mensah, his contender in the Ningo Pram constituency parliamentary primary, and that they were trying to massage the electoral roll and to tilt the scales in favor of E.T. Mensah. Okay. In fact, he actually alleged that his own name had been removed from the register. The regional executive contended that was a lie because it was proven to him that his name was in the register, and that there was no substance in his allegations. Be that as it may, he made those allegations. The regional executive are now contending that by that conduct, he brought the party into disrepute, and that cannot go unpunished. That was the reason why they wrote a letter suspending him. And by the party's constitution, they have 1 month within which to submit whatever case they have to the disciplinary committee of the party that's in the region before it will get to the national level and a decision will be taken. In the case of Nyamasana Mwale, he's a member of the incumbent member of parliament for Ladade Kotopong, and he also won that parliamentary primary in that constituency. And after that election, he granted us an interview on Joy News here, where he accused some of the constituency executive and some of the regional executive of being pickpockets. And the same allegation, he said that they were trying to manipulate the electoral roll in that constituency to favor his opponent in that election.
Right.
The letter to him also says that by calling some members of the regional executive as pickpockets, he had engaged in conduct that amounted to bringing the party into disrepute, and to that extent, he needed to be punished. The third one was a statement issued by another Deputy General Secretary. Remember that there are two Deputy General Secretaries. We just heard George Lawson, one of them. Then the other one is Kokwanyu, who he issued a statement, and he said that in the matter relating to the suspension of these two people, and I'm talking about Sam George for the Ningo Prampram constituency and Nia Masana Mwale for Laderu Kotopong, he said that that case is under review. But he goes ahead to say there's another person who has been suspended in the Ashanti region. That suspension has been upheld by the National Executive. And for me, there's a curious question here.
Right.
We just heard George Lawson arguing that the Greater Accra Regional Executive of the NDC do not have the mandate and the power to suspend a parliamentary candidate.
So the confusion I'm
Absolutely.
having now,
Here is the case. You have Kokwanyu, who is also a Deputy General Secretary of the party, issuing a statement and saying the National Executive Committee of the party has upheld a decision of the Ashanti Regional Executive to suspend a parliamentary candidate.
So,
but the constitution is on Kokwanyu Duhu's side, because if you look at the NDC's constitution, it says that the various executive committees, be it constituency executive, regional executive, or national executive, can take a decision to suspend a person, but that suspension cannot go beyond 6 months. And if they were to suspend the person, they have 1 month within which to submit their case to the disciplinary committee to deal with. So I think that some George Lawson may have gotten his facts wrong, because the party's constitution entirely allows the regional executive to take the decision that they took. And in fact, when we spoke to the
Jerry Johnson, who is Greater
absolutely,
Accra,
he pointed that out and says if George Lawson wants, he should go back and read the party's constitution. They have the power to take the decision that
I think, to be fair, we need to listen to what Jerry Johnson also said on this issue.
What I've informed this decision is that, one, we thought a whole lot of things have happened. We have some judge behind the scenes, and the two personalities in question, luckily for the party, they have won. So we thought that ends it. But they still going around suffering from verbal diarrhea that is having effect on the party. So we have no option than to bite by quoting the constitution copiously to support the position of the regional executive.
Mr. Johnson, I don't mean to cut you, but you're saying that after they won the elections, in your words, they've gone on an oral diarrhea. Are you saying that if not for the latter comments that have come up, the party will have just let the slide?
Yes, I said so because they've made several accusations before during the election, and the political party, the game of numbers. So at times when people are doing a certain thing that isn't bad, we have to massage the situation behind the scenes from the media. You get it? That's why I spoke the way I spoke from the initial stage.
Okay.
Luckily, that stage has been passed. So I thought we could all judge and not wash our dirty linen in public. I also want to put it on record. This decision and the letter is meant for the personality in question. But you media use a certain way. You have a way of intercepting information. That's why we are reacting to it. Else, it should have been an internal party thing that would be handled internally.
Okay, clear this up for me so all of us get to understand what you mean. You're saying that these two individuals, Nia Masana Mwale and Sam George, have been making comments after the primaries, and that is what has informed the decision by the party. Tell us exactly what they've said. First, Sam George, which has informed this decision to have him suspended.
Both of them have contravened Article 40 and then Article 41, as stated in the letter. That's one. That talks about the, how they call it, disciplinary code in our constitution. Sam George, before the election, have been, going around the media, maligning regional executives. But we have been managing the situation, talking behind the scene, explaining things to all the aspirants.
So that's it for the NDC. We're still hoping that Regional Chairman Adekoka will come out to speak on this matter and clear the air. We're also told there is a meeting, a crunch meeting, to decide the fate of General Secretary of the NPP, Kwabena Agyapong, who is alleged to be siding with Afoko, but now looks like he's turned around to support the party and now forgets about Afoko or his deals with Afoko. Malik, what do you know about this meeting and what's the fate of Kwabena Agyapong after this meeting?
Well, at this point it's difficult to determine, but what we do know is that at this point there is a crunch meeting. The party's flag bearer, Nana Donka Akufo-Addo himself, is in that meeting.
Right.
The acting national chairman of the party, Freddie Bliss, Samir Wuku, the youth organizer, all of those guys are in the party headquarters now, and they are meeting to determine Kwabena Agyapong's fate. And that is because a group of people in the party submitted a petition to the disciplinary committee of the party, making series of allegations against Kwabena Agyapong, right, and pointing out conduct that they believe were amounted to misconduct and for which the party must take a decision on him.
Right.
And they submitted interviews Kwabena Agyapong granted, and they are pointing to interviews he granted, saying that he had meetings with the flag bearer and agreed on the Rise and Build tour, and that later he was sidelined. And they submitted audio recordings of all of those interviews, right, and submitted them to the disciplinary committee of the party. Okay. The committee has met. Currently, there is a steering committee meeting going on, okay, and Kwabena Agyapong himself is in that steering committee meeting, okay, and they are determining his fate. In fact, our information is that he actually apologized when he was confronted with some of the things that he himself had put in the public domain, right, and was asked whether a general secretary who is desirous of leading a progressive party will make those comments in the public. And we are told that he apologized for those comments. Whether that apology will be enough and will assuage the pain of the persons who are to determine his fate today is a question we wait to see the answer at the end of the meeting.
The outcome of the meeting. Well, we'll be telling our viewers what the outcome of this meeting. This is today's big story. We've been talking about the NDC's primaries, the November 21st and 22nd primaries and the aftermath, the issues coming up. Sam George and Niamasa Namwale have been suspended, and one other candidate, Gloria, has also been suspended. But the confusion is about who has the power to suspend who. And we heard clearly from Malik that the Constitution allows any of the regional executives to suspend a member who is seen breaking the rules of the party. We also told about a crunch meeting by the NPP to determine the fate of General Secretary Kwabena Agyapong. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Have a good evening.